Suda, I am so excited to talk to you again. No More Heroes 3, such a home run, you could say. I was so impressed with it. My expectations were really high, and you exceeded them. And now I'm getting to talk to you about it after this huge victory. How have you been feeling since the launch of the game?
First, I'm really happy to see you as well. It's been a long time, and the background stuff you got for the camera is really awesome.
Oh, I was thinking the same thing about you.
Yeah.
So when I was playing the game, so many questions kept popping up in my head, and I thought that they would get answered, and some of them never did. So I'm going to start with some of those questions that have been sitting with me for months now, and this may be my only chance to ask them because No More Heroes may be over, you're now saying. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. For now, the No More Heroes series has come to an end. The reason for that is basically at Grasshopper, we only own part of the rights to the IP for No More Heroes. The majority of it is owned by Marvelous. And they've done a really great job taking care of the IP for us for all these years. They always treat me right. They've always said, we're not going to do any No More Hero stuff without you involved. Don't worry about it, And for the past 5 years or so, they basically lent us the IP and said, okay, here, you can make these games that you've been wanting to make. Go ahead, do what you want. And that's how Travis Strikes Again and No More Heroes 3 came about. And, after 5 years of sort of borrowing the IP and just basically having the freedom to make the last two games however we wanted, it's time to give it back. And I just sort of felt that it would be a good cutoff point. And I made the decision before actually starting up development. But throughout development of the game, it was always sort of in the back of my head, this is going to be the end of No More Heroes. This is going to be the final installment in Travis's story, So that's something that really sort of kept pecking at me while I was writing the game out and while we were making it. But again, Marvelous, they've treated Travis and the game and all of us really well over the years. And I've had a really great time with the IP. I just felt that for now, it's time to put an end to the story, at least for the time being. And, who knows what'll happen in the future, but at least, for now, it's the end of the No More Hero series.
Wow. So that actually answers the question I had coming up, but now it inspires a new question that I'm making up on the fly. If you, in a year from now, say, oh, suddenly have this new Travis Touchdown idea, gotta make it, maybe it'll be smaller scale. Like Travis Strikes Again, maybe it'll be a cartoon like the new Shenmue cartoon that's suddenly coming out on Adult Swim. And not to go on too much of a tangent, but as soon as I saw that Shenmue is getting a cartoon, I was like, awesome, where's No More Heroes cartoon? Because that's really what I want. If Shenmue can get a cartoon, No More Heroes has to be able to get a cartoon. Or a comic like Kuriyama Dance, the comic you did that the fans absolutely love. You can only prove your true love of Grasshopper by saying you've read Kuriyama Dance, or else you're considered a noob or a casual Grasshopper fan. So yeah, if you wanted to expand No More Heroes into other directions, do you still have the freedom to do that? And do you anticipate that may happen as well in the future?
Again, since the main owner of the IP is Marvelous, it's even if I had a really good idea for something to do with the IP or with the character, in the end, it would pretty much come down to Marvelous's decision on whether or not I'd be able to do something with it. There've actually been talks before about making like an anime version of No More Heroes. We've even had talks about making like a movie version. None of it ever really got super far in the process or anything, but there have been talks before. But somehow just something always happens. Something always seems to come up, and it just doesn't really seem to work out. I wouldn't say it's an impossibility, but at this point, we don't have any concrete plans for anything like that. And again, even if I did have some kind of really great idea for it, I'd have to go through Marvelous to get permission to be able to actually do anything at all with the IP, really.
Understood. Yeah. So, bringing back the original premise of this interview, probably not going to get any more No More Heroes, so this is my last chance to ask somebody these questions. And one of the first ones is, what is going on in Santa Destroy now? First of all, before I get too far into this, deep, intense question, I have to let you know that my 6-year-old son loves No More Heroes 3. And one of the things he loves about it is just crashing into cars and watching them disappear. He loves how the world seems real, but is also playfully unreal. And therefore, when he causes real big problems, he never feels bad about it because it's all just for fun. That is so much of the spirit of No More Heroes 3. It's like, this game is just for fun from beginning to end. And if I turn the blood and the swears off, I can play it with my 6-year-old and we can play around with it for hours and hours on end. So
yeah, actually, I've had several other people telling me before that it's not necessarily that they were like, okay, I'm going to show my kid No More Heroes, but they'd be like playing No More Heroes, and then their kid would just sort of walk into the room and watch whatever game daddy or mommy's playing and be like, hey, this game's pretty awesome, and really kind of get into it. Even the interpreter here, his daughter, who's gotten really into it as well, just watching him play. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of like element to it that just sort of draws children in. And, I've also been told that maybe there's something to it that kind of draws kids in and keeps their attention. It could possibly be used to, help like shape kids into like better grown-ups or something later. I don't know. But yeah, there does seem to be something about No More Heroes that little kids seem to be drawn to. Yeah.
So sometimes I forgot to turn off the swears and he heard a little SHIT now and again. And he'd be like, Travis shouldn't say that. Travis, that's a bad word. And then I would, you're right, I'll turn it off, and I'd turn off the voice acting and be like, much better, Travis.
So I need to win, huh?
Yes.
And what happens once I take everyone out? For reals? I'll do it. Please, let me do it.
かわいいね、かわいい。
Yeah, that's super cute.
It is. So it's been like 20 minutes and I'm just small talking with you. I have to get to these questions that the fans so badly want to know. So the first one, pretty simple, I think. The NPCs in Santa Destroy and all across the areas that Travis goes to in No More Heroes 3, they're all wearing like sailor suits with really like sexy pants and overalls and VR goggles, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if there's any light you can shed on that.
Actually, all the people, all the NPCs you see walking around town, those are all employees of Utopia Land. Damon's company's big setup. See, apart from Travis, Santa Destroy has mostly become a ghost town at this point. There's, it's being all redeveloped and everything, and almost nobody lives there anymore. And so pretty much all the NPCs you see walking around, like the funky goggles and the clothes and everything, those are all staff members from Utopia Land.
Whoa, so they were the only ones who were spared when everyone got murdered at the very start of the game, is that right?
That's right. Basically, at the beginning, it was only the Utopia Land employees who were spared. But as far as the regular people go, at the end, Travis has booted everybody out, like all the Utopia Land people and Damon and them. So as far as Santa Destroy goes, the people, the population will start trickling back in.
Interesting. Oh, and I probably won't have time for it, but hopefully we'll have time for me to ask about what the heck Doppelganger is doing. I was so excited to see more of Travis Strikes Again make its way into No More Heroes 3. And I spent maybe 6 hours finding all those doppelgangers and then making a guide for it for Destructoid. So I want to know how he survived. I don't know if that's part of the backstory or what, but hopefully we'll get to that. But before we do, why is Dr. Naomi a tree now?
As for Dr. Naomi, the reason she, I guess you could say, became a tree is so Dr. Naomi died. But before she died, she managed to transfer her consciousness into this tree. So basically, it's not that she became a tree, it's more like she forwarded herself into a tree. And so Dr. Naomi, the human, has died. It's just her consciousness living on, not exactly as an AI, but basically as this sort of tree with human consciousness inside of it. That's what's up with Dr. Naomi.
So if I didn't ask, no one would know. This is like the coolest stuff. And it was just unknown until I was like, you want to do a Zoom call and I can just ask you some questions that I can't stop thinking about? Oh, sure. I'll just let you know all the cool stuff. I'm just in a little bit of shock still.
Actually, yeah, you're right. We don't really touch on this stuff in the game anywhere. I really wanted to, but we just ended up sort of without a place that I could put it in and make it feel natural. So I just ended up leaving it out. But that is indeed what's up with Dr. Naomi. The thing is, at the point of No More Heroes 1, she was already past 80 years old. So she's she's already pretty up there in the years. She's had a lot of work done on her entire body. She's gone through all kinds of procedures to keep herself alive and keep herself moving and everything. But yeah, she basically just got a bit too old and realized that she was coming up on the end of her life. So she decided to again transfer her consciousness into this tree. She did the whole procedure all by herself. Just like over the years she's done all of her own work on her own body and everything. And so again, yeah, she realized that the end of her life was coming up, but her brain her mind at least would still be able to continue functioning. So she transferred herself into this tree, and that's how she, in a way, continues to live on now.
I just want to keep asking as many questions as I can because it's all such good stuff, and it sounds like it may be the only way to find out about it is to just ask, and it's so kind of you to answer. So I'll jump ahead a little bit as to if you can tell us any more about what happened with Travis, Henry, and Jeane when they were younger. Henry tells the story about when they were kids in the snow and somebody took them. Don't know who, and you don't know what happened to them. And I'll just briefly tell you my own theory is that whatever happened to them then maybe gave them the power to come back to life because both Travis and Henry die right after that story is told. And Travis seems to have this ability to die and come back to life in a video game, be it the Deathman game or bring people back to life with the Death Drive game, as he brought Bad Girl back to life. And from what I've read in other interviews, there was even talk of Travis going to the same hell that Fleming was in, the Black Hole Prison, which is sort of an afterlife. And he has this power to reincarnate and then meet Takashi Miike and ask Takashi Miike if he can be in a Travis Touchdown movie. And then they both just go, oh, and it stops and you leave me with that? Suda51? How can you? This game did a lot of stuff to me, as you can tell, but I'm going to let the interpreter, please, before I go on another tangent, run with that as best you can. I apologize.
Yeah, with regard to what happened to them, they basically all three of them are their upbringing is kind of wrapped in mystery in a lot of ways. I touched on it a bit in No More Heroes 1 about the the relationship between Travis and Jeane in particular, and we've touched on a few other points throughout the series about what happened exactly with Travis and Henry, and so far what's been concretely established is that at some point Travis and Henry were separated and were brought up separately. So that's been established. Also, the fact that all three of them are originally humans has also been established. As far as the whole, the power to be resurrected or to come back, whatever that Travis has, that can pretty much be explained by the events of Travis Strikes Again. In Travis Strikes Again, he had the death drive. And put simply, through all his use of the death drive and going into the world of video games and everything, his physical body sort of absorbed the abilities of the death drive. And so one of those abilities being to, I guess you could say, resurrection. Put more specifically, as you mentioned, there's a part that it didn't end up in the game, but there's a part where he goes off to Black Hole Prison. That's tied into this whole sort of power, I guess you could say, this sort of ability he has. It's not really like just dying and then coming back again. He sort of gets transferred, or like I guess you could even say warped off to kind of this other dimension where he kind of regenerates there, and then from that point on is able to bring himself back as a human, like into the real world, into the game world, whichever. Again, that's something that we weren't really able to touch on in No More Heroes 3. But that's why Travis, at least Travis himself, is able to resurrect himself or regenerate like that, is due to the abilities of the death drive that he sort of absorbed while he was in the video game world.
Okay, that is an incredible answer. I'm still, and I have so little time and so many questions left. Travis cuts Henry in half. Henry comes crawling at him, taunting him. Travis beats the crap out of his top half. Then the camera pans up and you see Henry in Sylvia's hotel room, and you know they were married. Can you tell me anything about what was... I still can't stop thinking. You should have seen my jaw. I took a video on my Switch right away and then just kept watching it over and over again, being like, did that really happen? What is going on?
To give you the most detailed answer possible, I don't know. The thing is, she's always been a really mysterious character. She's just got this sort of thing about her. Like you never really know just exactly what her deal is. You know, what is she trying to do? Why is she doing this stuff? What's she gonna do next? Like, a lot of people ask me about her, and all I can really say is, I don't know, man. You know, like she's a mystery to me too. You know, I wrote her, but these characters, they kind of tend to take on lives of their own, and yeah, she just seems to have this thing about her. Like maybe it's the fact that she's so mysterious, or the fact that she seems to just be totally free and just does whatever she wants, but she's just got this really like kind of mysterious, I guess you could say, like allure to her. And yeah, she just kind of does her own thing, and sometimes I'm sitting there going, what the hell is going on? Why she was in that hotel room, what Henry was doing in there, why Sylvia's doing something like that. That's just Sylvia, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, that's just how she is.
So I want to know more about how Henry survived or was in two places at once, and if it was time travel, which is alluded to as well. We have limited time, and I am hoping that there will be either a Travis Strikes Again 2 or a comic or a movie or another full numbered game that'll explain what was going on with Henry someday. So I'm going to jump away from Henry and then turn it back to Sylvia, because I'm so glad you explained her the way that you did. One of the parts of the game that hit me like a punch in the gut. I said earlier that the game was just fun from beginning to end until you kill Kimmy Howell, now Kimmy Love, whom one of the most touching moments in No More Heroes 2, he spares her life. And this time he kills her. And then Sylvia comes out and says, thought this was going to be like a superhero movie. You're going to like team up with her and have some fun. And I was like, yeah, this game has been super fun. And now I'm like gonna cry because he murdered this young woman who before was a symbol of Travis becoming gentler and more human and valuing life and sparing life. And then he kills her, and then Sylvia rubs it in his face. What were you going with for that scene? Were you trying to punch me in the gut, or did you have another goal there?
There's actually a specific reason that that the whole scene played out that way. So when we first meet Kimmy, she's, when she first fights Travis in the previous game, the thing is, the reason he doesn't kill her is because I guess you could say he doesn't accept her as a worthy opponent. This is supposed to be a battle between killers. It's a battle between assassins, and he just kind of sees her as this overly confident girl who's got like this real hardcore thing for him, and he doesn't feel right killing her. Again, he doesn't feel that she's a proper, I guess you could say fully fleshed out or fully grown killer, and so he spares her due to that reason. This time in No More Heroes 3, when they face up again, he does end up killing her, and the reason for that is because it's, I guess you could say, in one way it's sort of out of respect. Now he's finally accepting her as a worthy opponent. He sees her as a properly full-grown, fully fleshed out killer now, and if so part of it is that, again, it's sort of out of respect. She's showing her, okay, I accept you as an opponent, so I'm going to treat you how I would treat any other worthy opponent. If he would have gone and let her go again, then I feel that it would have sort of blurred the lines between, okay, so how does Travis decide who lives and who dies? This guy's supposed to be a killer, he's supposed to be an assassin. So what is he just going to sort of decide all willy-nilly, like who he decides to let go and who gets to die? So I didn't want to really mess with that formula, and I wanted to show, I wanted to sort of express the fact that both Kimmy and Travis had done some growing, done some maturing. And again, Travis, he's mature enough to let her go the first time, but he's even more mature now and is mature enough to realize, okay, she knows what she's doing. She's not just some stupid little girl who's, like playing out some fantasy or something. All right, I'm going to show her the respect she deserves and give her the death that she deserves. So yeah, that's the reason that he let her go the first time, but not the second time. As for Sylvia's comments to Travis, she sort of gives him a bit of shit for it. She tells him, well, you're a killer. How else is it supposed to go, really? That was sort of my way of having Sylvia kind of have Travis reawaken himself to the fact that, I'm in this profession that is not a nice profession. It's not a happy, fun time profession. It's not kind to people. It doesn't care who you are. If you're in this profession, you kill or be killed. And so, yeah, again, that was, Sylvia sort of talking shit to Travis like that was her way of reawakening him to that realism, to that reality that, this is what he does. He kills people. Don't forget that, So, yeah, that's the story behind why Kimmy ended up having to die this time and why Sylvia was saying that stuff to Travis.
So interesting. And after that, he says, I'm not killing another woman again. And he doesn't. Velvet Chair Girl, Adrienne, takes her own life because she's too bad at musical chairs that she just can't take it. I could talk about this game all day. But yes, it was a moment of realization, a eureka moment of self-actualization, seeing who he was, and then deciding to change. And it gave him character growth, which was a really wonderful moment and a worthy use of those characters, so to speak. I want to ask, when Fu killed everyone in the boardroom, whether that was a fantasy for you at any time in your past boardroom meetings with a bunch of suits who, in my opinion, this is me talking, not you, you've worked with some people at some big companies that maybe weren't as creative as you. Some of them were, but some of them were just the money guys that maybe, just maybe part of you thought, what if they all just exploded? Then I wouldn't have to deal with all of this money talk and I could just get to making the games I want to make. So
to be honest, yeah, I think maybe you might have read a little bit too much into that scene. But, yeah, it was, that scene wasn't born from me thinking, oh man, I just want to murder a bunch of like board members or anything like that at all. It was more to show, so that's when Fu makes his big appearance and really starts explaining what exactly is going on and why he's here and everything. That was my way of showing Fu, I guess you could say, swinging his gun around. He's showing, okay, we're here now. We're taking over for you guys. We're taking over for everybody. We don't need you guys anymore. Get the hell out of here. And he just sort of indiscriminately kills all these dudes without even a second thought. That was kind of my way of showing that A, this guy is like a real badass, and B, again, showing how powerful he is, just making sure that everybody gets the memo that you don't mess with this guy,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was just my way of showing him sort of asserting his dominance as opposed to living out my kind of board meeting fantasies, whatever.
That makes a lot of sense, and I'm relieved in a way to hear that. So I thought it was very, very interesting the way Travis and Fu have these parallels. They're both killers, but they both see themselves as heroes. And I really loved how you tied it in with the Rocky theme. Only have a few questions left. There's a scene that looked like Buckaroo Banzai. And we talked about Buckaroo Banzai last year. Was that intentional? Or was that, there's a scene where all the characters are walking forward and it looks just like the end credits of Buckaroo Banzai. But a Rocky style theme is playing. So I wasn't sure if it was me just reading into things too much again.
Actually, I do remember a while back when we spoke, you recommended Buckaroo Banzai to me. To be honest, I still haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. It's definitely on my list, but I just haven't had the chance yet. But I know the scene you're talking about. Actually, it wasn't based on Buckaroo Banzai. It was based on an old Japanese TV show from way back in the day. It was called G-Men 75. I think, yeah, a lot of, even among Japanese people, a lot of younger people probably wouldn't get the reference. But If you get some older dudes like me playing the game, I'm pretty sure that like 99% of them will be like, oh, hey, look, it's that thing from G-Men 75, you know? But yeah, it's actually sort of an homage to that series instead of
so
Buckaroo
cool.
Banzai.
I will look that up. So we have just a few minutes left. I'm going to rapid fire a few questions. Ryuji and Ryuichi, the brothers, I found out that there's character from No More Heroes 2 and No More Heroes 3. I found out that there's characters in the Kunio-kun games with the same names. I'm wondering if they were named after the Kunio-kun characters, and if you would ever want to do a crossover with your characters and the Kunio-kun world.
With regard to the brothers' names, actually, I had no idea that there were characters with the same names in the Kunio series. It's just a coincidence, really. As for the names themselves, Ryuji, that was based on an old Japanese movie about sort of like Yakuza street punk type dudes. I took the name from that movie. That's also the title of the movie. For Ryuichi, it's not exactly a play on words, but in Japanese, the kanji characters in the name sort of imply that Ryuichi would be the older brother of Ryuji. That's the reason I went with that name. The reasoning for the names, that's pretty much it right there. As for a collaboration type thing, actually I've always really loved the Kunio-kun series. Dodgeball's it's always been my favorite. I've played a lot of that over the years. But yeah, I don't really see a collaboration coming to fruition anytime soon. I just feel like the worlds that the characters come from are just a bit too different. You know, they're both sort of like their own different types of like kind of street punk type characters, I guess. But yeah, I think there's just a bit too big of a gap there to make that work, unfortunately.
Gotcha. So hearing that Shadows of the Damned crossover was planned for No More Heroes 3, and then it actually happened in Travis Strikes Again. So I had a lot of people asking, does Grasshopper have the rights to Shadows of the Damned again? Are they going to make more of that? People have also asked, is Suda planning to make a game with Midori Kawa, new type Kamui? Does he have rights to these characters? Or does he, because they were No More Heroes 3, does Marvelous own them? There's been a lot of questions about those three characters, also Notorious, that people loved. If you have, which of those characters you have the rights to, if any of them, and if there's any plans to make new games with any of those?
Yeah, pretty much all the characters you mentioned. We at Grasshopper own the rights to them. Shadows of the Damned, that's our game. We own the rights to that. Who was it? New type Kamui. He originally appeared in the Silver Case series. That's also a Grasshopper IP. Midori Kawa. She originally appeared in the 25th Ward version of the Silver Case. So that's another one we own. Notorious was actually from Fire Pro Wrestling from way back in the day. And right now, yeah, Grasshopper owns the rights to him as well. So yeah, all the characters that you mentioned, as long as some from Shadows of the Damned, we own the rights to all those. And theoretically, yeah, we could pretty much do whatever we want with them, with the characters, with the IPs. As far as the possibility of them popping out in some kind of game in the future, that's definitely a possibility. Yeah. Again, these are characters that, we're free to do whatever we want with. And I would definitely like to revisit some of them and maybe do a couple new things with some of them at some point in the future. They might be popping out in a brand new IP. They might come up in, a redo of like an existing IP. I don't know. But yeah, there is a relatively good chance that you're going to see some or all of them again sometime in the future.
Oh, that is such good news. When I was playing No More Heroes 3, I kept thinking, this reminds me of Captain America 3, where they kept introducing Black Panther or Spider-Man or different characters who you knew they were setting up for their own movie in the future. And I was hoping that meant we were going to get Midori Kawa and new type Kamui traveling through space and having a superpowered romance while maybe doing some murders, because they've both done some murders in their past, and that being a Grasshopper IP. So I'm sad that No More Heroes 3 is the last game in the series, but I'm so happy that Grasshopper is going to be focusing on Grasshopper IP for a while. I read in another interview, he said it's going to be the decade of Grasshopper. And I just can't wait to hear more about that. Is there any plans for any announcements of new Grasshopper games in the next 12 months or so, or anytime even sooner?
As for the next 10 years, like you said, we're planning on making this the Grasshopper decade, basically. What that means is we want to spend the next 10 years making some all new IPs and come up with some all new characters. We've already got some concrete plans in place for some of the stuff we're going to do. Right now, we're currently planning on doing at least at least three titles over the next 10 years. And yeah, we feel that it's a really good time for us to start building a new foundation for Grasshopper. Using with some brand new IPs and characters, and with some pre-existing IPs and characters as well. As for the characters you mentioned, at least for Notorious, I can say that in one of the three games that we've got planned for the next couple of years, at the current point, I am planning on having him in one of those games. That's pretty much all I can say about that right now. But we want to spend the next few years, building new IPs, building new characters. And we hope to be able to come up with one or two characters that players out there can fall in love with, the same way they fell in love with Travis Touchdown. The kind of characters that players can really sort of latch onto and follow for years. We're really looking forward to seeing how the next 10 years works out, and we hope that everybody else out there does too. Like you mentioned with Captain America 3, I guess it would be safe to say that you could kind of consider the fact that all these other characters popped out in No More Heroes 3, you could kind of consider that to be a sort of introduction, or a sort of, maybe a sort of portent for future games. There's a really good chance that some of the characters that you mentioned, if not all of them, will be popping up in future games. At least one of them will almost definitely be popping up in one of the next 3 games that we've got planned. So there's not a whole lot I can talk about regarding that stuff right now, but hopefully we'll be able to talk a bit more in depth about it in the near future. And just for the time being, I hope everyone out there can look forward to the next 10 years and the stuff that we do as much as we are.
So good. And I'm still reeling from the fact that it sounds like you own the Shadows of the Damned IP now. So there may be more Garcia and Eight Hearts, aka Johnson, in the future. Last question: any plans to make that badminton game?
First up, as for the Shadows of the Damned thing, we own the rights to that, and Garcia, Eight Hearts, them. There's a possibility that you may get more of that in the future. It's just a possibility right now, but that may happen. Yeah. And sorry, the second part of your question, can you repeat that again? Sorry about that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. Any plans to make that badminton game? Maybe even with Garcia and Eight Hearts, who knows?
Oh yeah, I can't believe you remembered that. But if we were to make a badminton game, it would be kind of like Mario Tennis. Like we'd have like all the Grasshopper characters in there fighting out over badminton.
Yeah.
And if at some point, for some reason, if we were to make that game, I'd also go around to Capcom and Marvelous, ask them for permission to use the Killer 7 characters and stuff. I'd also have to go by Kadokawa Games and Warner Brothers to make sure I could put Juliet in the game. But if for some reason in the future we were to make that game, that's the kind of game that I'd like to make it into. It's just all the Grasshopper characters all fighting it out.
I'm just there's no game I want more in the world than that right now. I am so it's every year at April Fools, all the game developers, you're like, wouldn't it be funny if we did this game? And it's always like the best game you've ever seen. And that is like the best of the best. So please, I know you're joking, but also please be serious and make that game today, please.
Okay. そうね、まずは
maybe for starters, it's some April Fools in the future. We'll have like the art made up for the game and just toss that out there and see what everybody thinks for starters.
I will report on it like it's a real game and get everyone so mad at you unless you actually make it that you'll be forced to make it out of guilt.
Maybe.